Last time I left us with a question, and it has been working on me all week. If you couldn't introduce yourself by any title, any achievement, or anything you know, what would actually be left? And honestly, it stirred up some weather. My first few days were fog. Every time I reached for what's left, my mind handed me another label. Father, teacher, the one who explains things well. I'd set one down and the next would step forward to take its place. It was almost funny how quickly the self refills. But then, midweek, something quieter happened. I was sitting before sleep, too tired even to hold a label, and there was just a kind of awake stillness. No title in it, no story. And it wasn't empty in a lonely way. It was full and oddly familiar, like a room I'd lived in my whole life but rarely sat down in. It lasted a breath or two. And the strange thing was, I didn't make it happen. It was already there, underneath all the labels, the whole time. I think that's where this whole chapter has been quietly pointing.
That gives me chills, Leo, because my week landed somewhere similar from the other side. My weather was bright and busy on the surface and a little anxious underneath. When I tried to answer what's left without the titles, I actually felt a flicker of fear. Like, if I'm not the helpful one, the capable one, then who am I? For a day or two, that fear had me. And then it softened. I was holding my coffee one morning, not doing anything, and I noticed there was someone home who wasn't worried about any of that. Someone just aware of the morning. Not proud, not afraid, just present. And I realized that one had been there the whole time, behind all the roles I'd been so busy performing. I didn't lose anything by setting the titles down. I found the one who was wearing them.
I found the one who was wearing them. Amy, that's the doorway into today, and into the end of this chapter. We've emptied the cup. We've blunted the edge, untied the knot, softened the light, settled into the dust. And now the chapter turns, in its last two lines, to the one who's been doing all of it. The quiet awareness that was here before any name. This is the part the whole journey has been walking toward. Welcome, friends, to the Road to Awakening. I'm Leo, and today we close Chapter 4 of the Tao Te Ching, the two final lines, where Lao Tzu stops describing the Tao out there and points unmistakably at what is nearer to you than your own thoughts. I'm grateful you're here for this one.
And I'm Amy. Leo, let's hear these last lines.
Listen slowly. Let them be more like a bell than a sentence.
IT is transparent indeed. Perhaps IT exists. I do not know who gave birth to IT. IT existed prior to the creator/creation.
Thank you. Let's stay with the first part. It is transparent indeed. Perhaps it exists. The word for transparent here means clear and deep, the way still water is clear. So clean you almost can't see it's there. And then that delicate phrasing, perhaps it exists. Not a confident it is, not it isn't. Something in between. Lao Tzu is being deliberately careful because the moment you say firmly, it exists, you've turned it into a thing, one object among others. And it isn't a thing.
That's a strange way to talk about something so important. This, perhaps it's there, perhaps it isn't. If I said that about my keys, you'd think I'd lost them.
And that's exactly the point. Your keys are an object, so it exists or it doesn't works fine. But this isn't an object. Think about it this way. Can your eye see itself? It sees everything else, this room, these hands, but it can't turn around and look at itself directly. Awareness is like that. It's what sees, so it can't be one of the things seen. If you go looking for it as a thing, you'll come back empty-handed and conclude it isn't there. But the very one who went looking, who's aware of coming back empty, that's it. always one step closer than wherever you point.
So when I can't find it, that's not failure. That's almost the proof. Because the finder is the thing I'm looking for.
That's it, and it flips the whole search around. Most of us spend years trying to get awakening, as if it were a prize at the end of a long effort. But you can't travel to the place you're already standing. You can't earn what you already are. The looking itself becomes the last veil, and the moment you stop projecting it out there as some future attainment and simply notice the one who is looking, right here, the search quietly ends. Not because you found a new thing, but because you recognized the old, ever-present thing that was never actually missing.
So the seeking can actually get in the way.
Gently, yes. Seeking keeps it in the future, one more achievement away. Recognizing finds it now, and now is the only place it ever was. There's a line from the Koran that holds this perfectly. Vision cannot grasp him, but he grasps all vision. Sit with what those words actually claim. No sight, no mind, no concept can ever encompass the divine, and yet nothing whatsoever escapes his seeing. For the faithful, that is a statement of sheer transcendence. God is utterly beyond being captured, named, or contained by any creature, and the only fitting response is reverence. You do not pin him down, you bow. And hear how close that lands to Lao Tzu's careful, perhaps it exist. The same shape turns up in you. The awareness you are looking for cannot be grasped as a thing. Vision can't grasp it. Yet it is what is grasping, what is aware, right now, of every word I'm saying. The Quran keeps that majesty out beyond all seeing, in reverence, and we leave its God exactly there, not folded into our own awareness. What Lao Tzu's line lets us notice is the resemblance, not an identity. Awareness has that same ungraspable yet present shape, too near to ever be caught, yet looking out of your own eyes right now. You'll never catch it in your hands. You can only be it.
It's right there, and it can't be held. Both at once.
Both at once. And here's the part that makes transparent, perhaps present, so practical. This quiet awareness doesn't shout. Your thoughts are loud. Your emotions grab the microphone. But this is the silent one in the back of the room who's been listening the whole time. Which is why most of us go years without noticing it. Not because it's hidden, but because it's never not there, like the page behind the words. So the practice is gentle. Catch it in the gaps. At a red light, waiting in a queue, the first second after you wake, before the day's story boots up. In that gap, don't try to do anything. Just notice. Something is quietly aware right now. That noticing is the whole of it. You're not creating awareness. You're catching it being itself.
It's funny. The harder I look for it, the more it seems to hide. But the moment I stop straining, it's just obviously here.
Because looking is a kind of grasping, and you can't grasp the grasper. Here's an image that helped me. At night you have a dream, and inside the dream there's a you walking around, afraid, excited, caught up in the whole story. But there's also the one who is dreaming, the one in whom the entire dream is appearing. The dreamer never steps into the dream as a character. The dream is happening inside of him. Now turn that toward this moment. Who is it that all of your daily experience is appearing inside of right now? You won't find that one as a character in your day. You are the space the day is happening in. It is transparent indeed. Perhaps it exists. Like the dreamer, never an object in the scene, yet without it there would be no scene at all.
There's something almost beyond words about it, isn't there? Every time I try to describe it, it slips.
You've touched something a great thinker of the last century spent his whole life circling. He ended his most famous book with the line, "Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent." On the surface, that's a hard logical claim. Some things simply cannot be packed into propositions. Language has an edge, and past it, sentences stop carrying anything. But notice what he was really doing. Not dismissing what lies beyond words, but honoring it. Drawing the exact border of speech so that we'd stop chattering over what can only be met in silence. And that is Lao Tzu, standing at the very same border with his careful, perhaps it exist. The most real thing can't be said. It can only be shown, and finally, lived. So when words fail you here, that's not a problem to solve. That's the territory. Stop talking and notice. And let me pause here for just a breath. If this slow, inward kind of conversation, the kind we try to make here on the road to awakening, is something you've come to value, the simplest way to help us keep making it and to help it reach others who are quietly searching for exactly this, is to subscribe to our channel, Voice of Heavenly Tao, and to pass this episode to one person you sense is ready for it. We're a small show, just 2 voices. Every share genuinely carries these teachings further than we ever could alone. Thank you, truly, for being part of it. Now the final line, and this, friends, is the summit of the whole chapter. I do not know who gave birth to it. It existed prior to the creator/creation. Sit with how bold that is. Lao Tzu says, I can't tell you what produced this. It has no parent, no maker. It was already here before the creator, before creation itself, before anything was made.
That's enormous. He's saying the Tao is older than God? Older than the very beginning?
Let's be careful and precise here, because it's easy to hear this as a competition between religions. And that's not it at all. Prior to the creator doesn't mean ranked above your God. It means prior to every image of the divine that a mind can form. Any highest being you can picture, name, or worship is still an image arising in consciousness. And the Tao, the true nature, is what's there before any image arises. The Gospel of John opens on exactly this ground. It says, "No one has ever seen God." And in the same breath, "In the beginning was the Word, and through him all things were made." Read closely, John isn't merely saying the divine is invisible. His point is that the unseen God is the very one through whom everything that exists came to be. The Word that was already there in the beginning, before there was any creation to look at. That rhymes with prior to the Creator, prior to creation. Not the same doctrine, but a kindred gesture, pointing not to a formless blank, but to a living source that was there before the first made thing, and out of which every made thing came. 2 traditions, in their own idioms, each gesturing past the picture toward what is there before the picture, and in which the picture appears. Even the great thinkers of the West brushed against this edge. Plato, in the Republic, placed what he called the good beyond being itself, and his image for it was the sun. Not the brightest object you happen to look at, but the light by which everything else becomes visible, the very condition for there being anything at all to see. Notice why he said it beyond being, not to crown it the top item on the list of things that exist, but because the source from which all existing things take their being and their knowability can't itself be merely one more existing thing among them. That was his reach, in his own idiom, for what comes before objects, before forms, before the seeable. The same care that keeps Lao Tzu from ever flatly saying, "it is." And have you noticed? Voices this different, a Taoist sage, a Greek philosopher, the writers of scripture, tend, when they reach the very edge of the source, to go quiet and point rather than define. That isn't vagueness, that's accuracy. At that edge, the honest thing to do is to fall silent and point.
So this isn't really cosmology. When he says, before creation, he's pointing at something in me?
That's the turn. And it's everything. Bring it all the way home. It's not only the universe that has a source before its beginning. You do. There is something in you that was not manufactured, not by your parents, not by your experiences, not by time. Zen has a famous way of asking it. A teacher would say to a student, "Don't think of good, don't think of evil. At this very moment, what is your original face? The face you had before your parents were born." Hear what that question is doing. First, it asks you to set down the whole machinery of judging, good, evil, like, dislike, the labeling mind that never stops sorting. And the instant that machinery stalls, the question wheels you around to look at what was underneath it all along, the awareness that is there before any thought arises. That is, prior to creation, brought all the way home, and it is your original face. The one who is aware right now, before your name, before your history, before your very first thought this morning, was never born and is never made. That is the it this whole chapter has been capitalizing. That is what we've been learning to recognize.
So when the chapter says it existed before the creator, it's telling me the one who's listening right now is older than my whole story.
Older than your whole story and completely untouched by it. Every wave we talked about, the full cup, the sharp edge, the tangled knot, the glaring light, all of it rises and falls on the surface. And this, the transparent one, the one before the beginning, is the deep that none of the weather ever reached. You were never only the waves. You are the one in whom the waves appear. To know that, really know it, even for a breath, is what all of this has been for.
There's something comforting in that, and also a little vertiginous. We spend so much energy defending a self that was never quite the real one.
We do. And here's where it turns from a threat into a quiet comfort. Look at your own life. The body you had at 5 is gone. The one at 15, gone. Nearly every cell has been replaced many times over. Your roles have changed. Child, student, worker, perhaps parent. Your beliefs have turned over more than once. So much has come and gone. And yet, wasn't someone present through all of it? The same simple sense of I am here that looked out through your 5-year-old eyes is looking out right now, reading this moment. It didn't grow old with the body. It didn't accumulate with the years. It's the one constant behind a whole lifetime of change. That's what prior to creation means up close. Not a date in cosmic history, but the part of you that every season of your life has passed across without ever once touching it.
You know who this reminds me of? I once heard about an old teacher who, whenever students came to him in a panic about their troubles, would answer with just one question. Who is it that has this problem? Show me that one. And again, the old account says, the moment a student turned inward to look for the one who had the problem, the panic would loosen its grip. Because in turning to look, they had stepped, just for a second, out of the wave and into the one who was watching it.
That's the whole turn in a single question, Amy. Who is it that has this problem? And it draws our entire chapter together. Look back over the journey. We began by emptying the cup, making room. Then we blunted the edge, untied the knot, softened the light, settled into the dust. Every one of them a way of stopping ourselves from being yanked out onto the churning surface. And each of those moves was quietly doing the very same thing, turning us back toward the one who sees. The cup, the edge, the knot, the glare, those are all the waves. And these final two lines are the chapter at last saying out loud what the whole thing was for: to meet the one who was already here before the first wave ever rose.
Can we give people a way to actually meet this and not just admire it from a distance, especially as we close the whole chapter?
Yes. And let's make it the practice for the week ahead. It has 2 simple steps. Step 1. Once a day, in a natural pause, a red light, a cue, the moment your head touches the pillow, stop and ask silently, before my name, before my role, before my story, what is simply aware right now? Don't answer with a thought. A thought is just another wave. Instead, feel for the one that's already aware, the one reading this moment. And step 2, this is the heart of it. Notice that this awareness was not produced by your question. It was already here before you asked. You didn't switch it on. It was quietly present the whole time, like the sky before you looked up. Rest there for 3 slow breaths, not trying to hold it, just letting yourself be held by it. And then go on with your day. That's it. You're not building anything. You're getting acquainted with the one who was here before anything was built.
And if I don't feel anything special when I ask? Some days my mind will just be noisy and tired.
Then notice the noise, and notice that something is already aware of the noise. That awareness of the noise is exactly the one you were looking for. There is no failed version of this practice. If you're aware that nothing's happening, the awareness is right there, doing its quiet work. You truly can't get it wrong, because the one who'd be checking whether you got it right is already it. So be gentle with yourself. Some mornings the sky is clear, some mornings it's thick with cloud, but the sky is equally present on both. You're simply learning to notice the sky instead of only the weather.
I love that it's not about achieving a special state. It's about recognizing what's already here.
And here's the quiet promise hidden in that. For most of our lives, the noisy ones run the household. The sharp edge, the anxious planner, the one who has to win, the one who needs to be seen. They sit in the host's chair as though they owned the place and we never question it. But the moment you recognize the transparent one, the one that was here before all of them, something rebalances on its own. You don't have to evict the noisy guests. You just stop mistaking them for the owner of the house. And slowly, gently, without any force, the true host takes the seat back at the head of the table. That's the whole arc of this path in a single breath, the one who was always home, quietly returning to the place that was always theirs.
The one who was always home. I think I'm going to carry that line out of this chapter with me.
That's the whole of it. The Tao doesn't need to be created in you. It's prior to all creating. It only needs to be recognized. And once you've met it, even briefly, the empty cup, the blunted edge, the untangled knot, the softened light, they stop being rules to follow and become natural expressions of someone who has remembered who they are. So let me leave you and this chapter with one last question. I won't answer it. Carry it like a small, warm stone in your pocket. If something was already here before you were born, before your very first thought today, and it is here, right now, aware of these very words, would you be willing to stop just once this week and turn to meet it?
I don't think I'll be able to walk past that question. It's the kind that waits for you.
Let it wait for you then. And when you're ready, turn. That's the whole invitation of this chapter, and really, of this whole path. Not to acquire anything new, but to recognize the one who was here before everything. Thank you for walking these 3 episodes with us. It's been a privilege. Having learned this far, if there is any error or any clumsiness in how I've shared it, I humbly ask the wise ones and all the awakened ones before us for their compassion and their correction. Thank you, friends. We'll meet again next time.
Gratitude for the grace of heaven and virtue of teachers. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.